welcome to another Tangled Stitch tutorial. How many times have you passed over a great knitting pattern like this one because you thought there were going to be too many ends to weave in? Well, today I'm going to show you a great method for weaving ends as you go, which is guaranteed to give you more knitting time and less time spent finishing. So let's get started. So in this tutorial, there's actually 3 quick steps. The first step is when you're introducing a new color and you're weaving that color into your work. The second step would be when you've finished with a color and you're weaving that out of your work, the tail. And the third step is just quick with a darning needle how to finish off the stitches behind your work. So I've come to the point in this pattern where I need to add an additional color. So I like to start the weaving process 5 to 6 stitches from where I'm actually going to need the yarn. So in this case, I've got 5 stitches on there. So I insert the needle tip in just as if I'm regularly going to knit, and I grab my new color. Now, when I do the weaving, we're going to weave across this way, and I'm going to want the tail dropped into the work, and then I want the working end is going to be ready for that next stitch. So what I do is I just take the working yarn, take my new color, and I lay it tail-wise, tail away, over that yarn. Just tug it a little bit with your fingers. I usually grab both ends for that first stitch, and then just knit the first stitch as normal. Go into your second, and again take the business end of the yarn, the working end of the new color, lay it over the color that you're working with. That. Knit your next stitch. And you just keep doing this until you're at the point where you're ready to introduce the new color. So again, grab the new color, lay it across the color that I'm working with, knit the stitch, new color over the yarn, knit the stitch. I've got one more, new color over the working yarn, knit the stitch. Now I'll just pass my stitch marker. So in this pattern, my next stitch is going to be this new gray that I've introduced. So I will drop the blue, and now this is in here. It's pretty snug already, so I'm ready to start working with that yarn. And I just work across. So that's part 1. I'm going to get to the part where I'm finishing with the blue, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, so I finished this section and I'm ready to weave in the end of the blue yarn. Now, when we introduced the new yarn, if you'll recall, we wove the introduced yarn in on the right side of the work. But this time, because we're finishing with the yarn, the weave or the twist is going to be on the left side of the point that you're working on. So I've cut my yarn to enough to weave in for several stitches, and just like the approach, and we wove in 5 or 6 stitches, we're going to weave in 5 or 6 stitches on the way out. So again, just pick up the working yarn, and I've placed the tail over top of my working yarn. And I'll just knit that stitch with my gray. Hold the gray, take the blue tail, the waist, weave that across, knit that stitch. And just keep repeating that process. So keep bringing the tail across the working yarn and knit your stitch. Bring the tail across the working yarn, knit the stitch, across, and knit. Last one, across, and knit. And if we flip the work over, you can see again that we have this nice little weave across here behind the stitches, and that yarn is pretty secure. So now I'm going to turn my sock inside out and show you the very final step in the weaving in of the ends. All right, I have my sock turned inside out, and I have a couple of ends here that I just have to finish. You will need a darning needle and a pair of scissors to finish this. So I'll just hold this up a little bit closer and you can see that the hard work is already done, the weaving part, and this piece of yarn is already pretty stable. But what you want to do to just give this an absolute finish that it can't come undone is we want the yarn just to go the opposite way against itself, and that will eliminate any possibility of your yarn coming undone. So taking your darning needle, just thread your waist end through, and all that you have to do is just find the spot that you wove and just drag the needle under a few stitches. It's like that. Pull it through, and I cut it off. I don't cut it off tight. I usually leave about 1/4 of an inch. You're not going to see it or feel it inside the sock, and that's all there is to it. I'll show you one more end. Thread the needle. Try to thread the needle. Okay, and just take this and go back in against itself, just underneath where you've already done the twist, maybe just under 4 or 5 stitches again. Pull it through, cut it off, and there you have it. Easy, easy weaving. And there you have it. If you found this video helpful, please click on the subscribe button or the bell to be notified of future installments. Thanks for watching, and happy making.